Internet.
All of us?
Oh. How we doing, Grainworks?
Yay!
We are from Cincinnati Soccer Talk, a three-podcast kind of show that covers all things FC Cincinnati since 2016. We're excited to hang out with you guys again this year. I think this is, 3 in a row for us with the Vanguard. So we appreciate having us again. Just to make sure these levels are working, let's
You're sitting out of the shot, I think is what he said.
Yeah. I forgot.
Hey, who wants a free koozie? Hey.
If you want a koozie, they're up here. You don't have to catch one. We have a lot of them.
Yeah, you can just you don't have to do that. You can just come and get one.
But I'm being told we're broadcasting over the interweb, so I have to sit in my seat.
Yeah, you need to sit there. We didn't want to just get your middle section.
Yeah, I get it. All right, get it.
All right, third favorite section of yours.
Let's make sure this thing is working. If you are excited about an FC Cincinnati match in February, I want to hear you right now. All right. And just to make sure, in case like Frankie Mike comes back to Cincinnati or something, I want to hear your boos too. This guy just bought a Nashville SC scarf.
Who?
All right. So
that's horrible.
His name is Justin, by the way. Feel free to give him crap later. We are, as I said earlier, excited to be here. Thanks to Mr. Chris Marshall. Anybody know the guy?
I do.
And there is an amazing raffle going on, as well as a silent auction. If you have not bought tickets, if you have not got your Norden membership, $25, we encourage you.
Over at that table over there.
At that table.
You may or may not have to talk to Rupesh. Warning you now, but it is over there.
If you have no idea what's going on, a bunch of soccer fans have invaded your favorite brewery. And
bummer, dude.
We're having a blast. And that whole room is full of a raffle. You don't have to be a soccer fan. You can still donate money to a good cause. I'm going to turn it over here to Chris Marshall. He's going to give us a little bit more information. Chris, what's going on tonight?
It's great to be with you guys. Glad you're back.
Oh no!
I think you're on. We're just messing with the levels. You're good.
That's your ears. That's not the actual.
Loud.
No, he's not on. Oh my gosh!
Slide that one.
So
right
that
there.
that's the soundboard. So we have to use that one.
Where's our producer at?
He's handing out koozies.
Hey, producer, can you
This
turn
is why
up?
you
Can you
throw
turn
it.
up Chris?
You forgot to turn a mic on. We're not gonna say it's your fault, but I feel like everybody in the room knows it is. There you go.
And unmute it.
Check. Oh, I think I hear
Go.
things.
Now we hear them.
Usually the old Bailey Capo is not very quiet. But we're very excited. First, just to say, we always partner with Cincinnati Soccer Talk. They are the OG podcast in the Cincinnati supporter community. We've got a lot of great ones, but Cincinnati Soccer Talk started out for all of us. Here, Grainworks is our home bar here for Norden SG. We formed in 2017, and we have we've blossomed a bit over the years. We are packed out here again today. We're excited. Not only we have our 2024 supporter scarves around our theme this year, which is Norden Eternal, that we have eternal support for the blue and orange. And tonight is actually also our big charity night. So 100% of all proceeds go to our partner in the West End neighborhood, because every match day we go down to the West End neighborhood and they host us. Yep. We're in their neighborhood. They provided the space for our stadium to be. So we want to give back to them and be good neighbors. So one of the ways we do that is with tonight. So St. Vincent de Paul has been in the West End neighborhood for 160 years, serving the people there. We partner directly with the charitable pharmacy. Every dollar we raise tonight, they turn into $12 of life-saving medicine for people in the West End.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
So we are thrilled. This is our third year doing it. Last year, we raised $5,000, which was $60,000 worth of life-saving medicine. I can tell you in our first hour, we were halfway to that point already tonight. Awesome. So we have many more hours to go. lots of ways you can help us raise money. You can drink beer. Every beer you drink tonight, 10% of all proceeds of drinks goes to our cause. And I'm looking out here and I'm seeing a lot of like world changers
Yeah, I was gonna say
in front of me here.
All right, is there anybody here good at that?
Yeah, I see a few talented folks there. We have this year it's new. We're doing a shirt and hoodie printing. We have 4 different designs that are Grainworks or Norden or FC Cincinnati related. And over here to the tanks, you can go and make your own shirt, make your own T-shirt, make your own hoodie. We have 4 silent auction items this year. We have a TPC golf package. We have a couple ticket packages. We have one tunnel club, all you can eat, all you can drink. We've got the club donated to us a ticket package where you get 4 tickets in a lower bowl.
Is it coming?
And then you get also 4 field passes to be on the field during warmups, and a Yerson Mascara signed ball. Former Yerson, our son has left us.
Still our son.
And then finally, we have a Nick Haglin signed team a game jersey from Nick Haglin, the pride of Westchester, and a friend of the Norden. His parents are members, and so we're thrilled to have that. And we have 40 plus auction items. I'm sorry, not auction items, raffle items.
Yep.
In the other room over here, we have lots more ticket packages, lots of Bailey seats. We've got bourbon. We've got some beer options, lots of gift cards, spas, tattoos, record shops, all that kind of stuff. So we're thrilled to be here and raising money for a good cause for our partners down at the West End. And we are like super passionate about another year for another championship. We have the shield back there.
Yeah.
The 2023 Supporters Shield. That's a championship that we won last year that we get to enjoy. And we're just going to keep having it every year because it now belongs to us.
Yeah, they don't bring the Lombardi trophy out where fans can
No,
interact with.
No, we get that here.
Yeah, exactly.
So Chris, obviously, this is the Norden's party. A lot of people here are already involved. But for those who are just kind of hanging out, wanted to check out the Shield, wanted to, whatever, obviously not listen to us, but showed up for some other reason, what are the big reasons to join a supporters group?
Sure. Honestly, for me, my number one answer is just going to be community, right? So just a group of people you can belong to. I would guess we have 100 or more people that are part of the Norden supporter group that don't like soccer, maybe even still now, that didn't like it when they started coming. A lot of times I'll just say, hey, do you like beer and do you like fun? Come and try it. Get inside the stadium, get the energy, the atmosphere. And as you all you could say, like, you go one time and like they're hooked.
Sure.
So it's just the community. We have a whole Discord server where, we have a couple hundred people on there talking to each other. And we have, I think last year we ended with about over 400 members. And it's just really to be a part of. We do watch parties here for away matches.
Yeah.
And then we host a pregame party down a block from TQL Stadium at Symphony Hotel, and do a pregame there, and then get to be a part of what's happening with all the other supporter groups. So yeah, it's a community that's not just about soccer. Soccer is a part of what we do, but then we get to be, we do things all year round. We actually had a fantasy football league this year through Norden, which was a blast. There's a table back there. The championship ring is there. We did a little ceremony tonight with the winner. There's a shield, the person with the highest points, they get to hold the shield for the year. And next year, we're actually expanding it. We're going to have 2 different levels with relegation and promotion. So the bottom 3 teams of the top league drop down. Like, we're kind of soccer nerding that whole thing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
All the pro rel fans are jumping out of
Exactly.
there.
They're in.
Pro rel for fantasy sports.
It's about fun and community, though.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And love for our city.
Yeah.
And all the supporter groups do that. So there's lots of other groups that are here tonight. It's all about that.
Yeah. Well, if you live in the northern area of Cincinnati, there is no place that you can be tonight that is better than Grainworks Brewery in this event. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
We appreciate you raising money for the West End. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all
Our
about.
honor. Thanks so much, guys, and appreciate you all. And thank you for being the voice, from the very beginning of this whole movement. We follow you.
We're happy to be back. We love coming here every year. And as Chris said, you can buy your Norden scarves at the back of the building along with silent raffle items. Make sure you go ahead and get that done, whether or not you are a Norden fan. If you're not, it's time to sign up and get down to an FC Cincinnati game, and we appreciate it. We have some items up here that are free to grab. If you need
you
a
can
koozie
come get
tonight,
them, or I can throw them at you. It's your choice, really.
yeah, come on down.
Chris Marshall, everybody. Let's give one last.
Yeah, big shout out to the charity work they're doing tonight. And you mentioned that this has become sort of a tradition. To me, it doesn't feel real until we have our Norden event.
That's right.
Every year.
Yeah. That's actually what brings Cincinnati Soccer Talk out of off-season retirement mode is this event. That means it's time to start our podcast up again and get everything going again. And I can't think of a better way of doing that than bringing in the one and only Jimmy McLaughlin. Can we give it up for Jimmy? USL star. Now you're working for the club in some capacity, correct? Or?
Yeah. No, I help out as much as I can, just doing some events in the community and doing a little coaching with the academy. And, just want to stay involved with the club and be a supporter of the team.
I want to know what Jimmy McLaughlin does in an offseason because I feel like as soon as the season ends, we're like, whoa, okay, we got to slow the podcast down. We got to give everybody, we got to catch our breath. We got to give a break. What does it mean for Jimmy McLaughlin to have an off season now?
Oh, I mean, my off season is a little different than it used to be. I wouldn't say I really have an off season anymore, when I have to work every single day. But it's nice to see the MLS off season getting a little bit shorter, and we don't have to wait around as long as we used to for the first game. So
that's right. We have international tournament thanks to our first place finish coming up, and Jamaica, is that who we're playing up first? We're
yes,
playing a club
we
from
are
Jamaica.
going, not the
Cavalier.
whole country, but just a team.
And then if we win, rumor has it, there's a good chance we could play Brandon Vasquez and Monterey. So
Go ahead.
I'd say the preseason's looking pretty good.
So, Jimmy, when you were playing, kind of walk us through what it is like for an athlete. You get that final game, you're getting ready for the off season, but you do know that you have to stay healthy and ready for the preseason coming up. What are some things that the guys were probably doing over the past month or two during the off season?
Yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic, at least, starting with, call it the last week of the season. You're never expecting your season to end. You're always preparing to play till the final, the last game of the season. And, when that time finally does come, it happens really fast. And it's like you're preparing for the next week, and then it's just you got 2 months off. So generally, guys, teams give out kind of fitness packages that the players will have to do, like some individual work on their own. That's kind of clearly outlined for the guys so they can just kind of keep some base level fitness. You usually take maybe 1 week or 2 weeks completely off, really try to just refresh the body and the mind, and then it starts ramping up. So I think the guys have all probably been doing some base level fitness or getting some touches on their own, maybe playing in some pickup games with some local pros wherever they live or wherever they spend the off season. But more than anything, it's just kind of getting your body to a baseline level so you're ready to go and really ramp things up during preseason.
Right. I totally forgot, but I got to real quick take a quick pause and introduce my co-host.
Okay, that's fine.
We have sitting right next to me is Mr. Jeremy Lance.
Yeah.
And
Zero applause.
And Jason is right next to him.
Yeah.
And then of course Jimmy. Well, this is finally the season I think FC Cincinnati fans could get excited about. We were winners again. Did you see any parallels between that USL team and then the MLS team that finally went on their run?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, I think you can tell when this team plays that they really fight for each other. They really care for each other. They care about the team, and they care about the city and the fans. And I think that's the biggest thing I've noticed over the last 2 years, just the change of culture within the locker room and the organization in general. And, guys want to play for FC Cincinnati, and they want to do well for this city and this fan base. And I think in the early years of MLS, it wasn't really that same mentality, and guys were just kind of coming here waiting for the next move. And I think we've really solidified ourselves as a top team in MLS in a place that everybody across America and even the world is looking to play.
And then probably the thing that everybody remembers you most from last year is TST. So you got to give us some kind of.
I mean, it was a electric weekend. I'll tell you what. I mean, there's not many opportunities when you get a group of guys that you played with 5, 6, 7 years ago, all in one place together. It felt like a youth soccer tournament, honestly. Yep. I mean, it was a real blast from the past, but no, it was awesome. It was fun kind of having some competitive spirit again and playing soccer at a decently high level, and more than anything, getting to spend some time with some of my really close friends who we had a bunch of amazing memories together here in Cincy.
How about having Ocho Cinco on the team? How was that whole
what a guy, man.
Bringing him in?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, he was way better than we were expecting. I mean, obviously we knew he was going to be a world-class athlete and just an awesome guy from his incredible NFL career and just his personality and everything. But I'll tell you what, he's got some good skills. He's got a really good touch, really down to earth guy, like great just to hang out and talk to. So he was an awesome addition, and we're looking forward to hopefully having him again on the team this year.
Is that something that's going to happen again this summer?
Oh yeah.
ESC again?
We're running it back. I think we understand the format a little bit more. We're going to spend some time training this year, trying to get a little more prepared. So yeah, we're working on putting together the roster, but we're absolutely going to go back and hopefully win $1 million.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were excited when $1 million tournament came out of nowhere. I mean,
yeah,
none of us really expected that to happen, and then all of a sudden, boom! Our old 2016, 2017 team was getting back together. Throw in a Chad Ochocinco just for a little bit of celebrity factor, and yeah, that was a pretty cool tournament overall. What do you think of the setup? Do you think they can improve on it and even make it a bigger deal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to continue to grow. I mean, honestly, I think the format is super exciting to one, play, but more than anything, watch. I mean, there's a lot of action, a lot of back and forth, a lot of goals. I was blown away with just the logistics and the organization of the tournament. I mean, the fields, there were so many games played on those fields, and they remained like world class throughout the tournament. I think they continue to kind of make like the spectator element of it. They can improve that, maybe just have like some more kind of vendors and more food and drink options, which I'm sure they're going to build out this year. But seriously, really, really impressed. We went in there like not expecting really anything, like had no clue what it was going to be like. And they really put together an awesome event that I think is going to continue to grow.
So you had Chad Johnson on the team. Besides that, though, there was a lot of big names there. Any cool interactions or run-ins with some of the big names like Cesc Fabregas?
I wish, I was hoping for one of those organic interactions, and next thing I know, I'm having a beer with Cesc Fabregas at the bar. Unfortunately, we just were able to watch a bunch of the games, and I mean, it was cool though, because like we did know guys on every single team really, so we would stay and watch some games. And the night after we were eliminated from the tournament, we went out with the group, and a bunch of the other teams were there. So it was just like a cool event. To kind of socially hang out with a bunch of guys that we used to play with and against. But no, I'm hoping maybe this year I get my dinner date with Cesc Fabregas.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you're talking with the organizers. It's going to be a lot bigger.
Yeah.
This year, a lot more teams, and I know when it happened last year, you had clubs and organizations from around the world saw it and said, "Yeah, we want in on this." So I'm really excited to see what this year's edition is going to look like.
Yeah, and I think it was helpful. The games are really accessible. A lot of them are just on YouTube or on their streaming platform, and I know the guys, the coaching staff was telling me they had the games on at the training facility this year, and a bunch of my buddies who were still playing professionally were watching. So, it's cool. It gives us, old, washed up, retired guys the opportunity to train for something and reason to stay in shape. So I'm looking forward to it, and going to have to. My off season's about to end now too. My TST preseason's got to start in the next couple months. So,
well, besides the TST, Jeremy here tells us you're kind of tearing it up in the local soccer.
Yeah, I mean, he came to our tournament at BOA over the summer and destroyed everybody.
Yeah, once in a while, I got to see if I still got it.
That's right.
That was a great setup at BOA, and we had a lot of fun. And again, it was that 7v7 format, which is just a blast, a little less running, a little less defense for me. So, I like that setup, and we'll definitely be playing in some games.
All right. Can fans look forward to, I think the coolest thing about you still hanging out with FC Cincinnati, that's the roots. We all love and cherish you, but we can still bump into you in like First Financial Club or in the Bailey, and you seem to make your way around TQL Stadium. Can we expect more of that?
100%. I'll be there at every game. I'll be cheering along the guys, and I love the setup. Obviously, there's nothing better than being on the field and playing in front of these fans, but being part of the fan group and cheering the guys on is a close second. So I'll be at the games and looking forward to seeing everybody.
Awesome. Well, let's give a shout out to Jimmy McLaughlin.
Jimmy McLaughlin, everybody.
Back and having a blast here to kick off the off season. Jimmy, thanks for stopping by. We really, really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, guys, as always.
Real quick, I want to give a shout out. Cincinnati Soccer Talk is sponsored by Apollo Home and Beyond Exercise, and we want to give both of them a big shout out as they keep us running as we get forward. We get rolling into 2024. They're the ones that keep this thing here possible. So we had both of them out here actually at Grainworks a month ago, and things look good in 2024. We're bringing in here Jeffrey Tebbets. How you doing, Geoff?
The man in the jacket.
Let's get his mic adjusted here.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, there's those dulcet tones.
Yeah.
The dulcet tones that you will hear on Thursdays or Fridays
Yeah.
when you listen to Jersey Swap on the CST Network. How's everybody doing tonight?
Jeffrey,
A smattering of applause. It sounds like they're doing all right.
Geoff Tebbets is the guy who listens to the show beyond the show. If you want to know who FC Cincinnati is playing on any given week, Geoff is your guy. You're playing Atlanta. Geoff lets you know what's going on in Atlanta. Geoff, tell us, how does this work? Did you go find somebody in Atlanta?
Basically, I have my fingers on the pulse of America, and I guess you could say Canada as well.
International fingers.
International fingers, exactly. So basically, we know all the podcasters out there, especially the ones that used to be with SB Nation. They're looking to sort of get their feet wet again in the network. And so we just contact them, we call them onto our show, and we try to get things from their perspective in terms of how the team is operating, what their issues are, what their strong points are. And I'm not saying we're trying to cheat on them. We're trying to look off their page, but we try to get an idea of what our competition is going to look like that week.
All right. Well, we appreciate you joining us here at the table. What we're going to do here, guys, is I'm going to find out where your head's at. It's been a couple weeks since we've been on a mic online. So what is the biggest headline or story for you coming into the 2024 season? We'll start with you, sir, Mr. Lance.
I mean, the biggest headline is Bariel staying. That was kind of one of the big things that we assumed was we were losing him. He was on his way out, and the window in Europe is closed as of, what was it, yesterday?
Yeah.
He's staying. So he'll be with us until at least July, until when the window opens back up, he could potentially go. But to just have that to start the season, that's huge. That really changes a lot of things for us.
Do we need to do a Gary break? We got Gary up here.
I mean, last time he just took over the camera and commandeered it.
Yeah. Oh. And Gary, you're broadcasting live to thousands across the internet right now.
It's the only reason my daughters wanted to come was to see Gary.
How about you, Jason? What's the thing you're looking most?
I think we're actually going to be better. I think one of the things going into the offseason, you worried about Santi Arias leaving. You worried about Brandon Vasquez and Barial leaving. I think that we've made enough improvements to actually be better this year. And you saw the headlines today with I'm going to mess this guy's name up.
Butcher.
Luca Oriano. Yeah. So coming in possibly on loan. We'll talk to Laurel about him.
News to me.
I need Face ID. Hold on. And so that's a big move. Plus we got Pavel Buka coming in. I honestly think we could be contending for another supporter shield and really looking to set another points record this year.
All right. So we got some new player possible. We got a player we thought was leaving that's staying. Geoff, can you throw anything else on there?
I think right now you have to say it's the Battle of Ohio. I mean, we've got the supporter shield, but when Columbus won their MLS Cup, suddenly the argument came, well, the supporter shield doesn't count anymore. It's just there as a silver star that doesn't show up over the logo. And so this year it's going to be big brother, little brother, clashing heads and seeing really who can make that next step. Can Columbus defend their crown? Can Cincinnati find themselves with bigger and better hardware than their brothers to the north? It's going to really be that type of competition over the next year.
Yeah. I mean, whether you like it or not, FC Cincinnati is changing. Brandon Vasquez is now with Monterey. We are going to have some players come and go. I know a lot. My personal favorite, Arias, is no longer with the team, and we have to find ways to fill these roster spots. What is a new player or existing player you think has to step up, and what are you excited about?
I mean, I think it's going to be probably seeing that next season out of Ian Murphy. He's now going to be possibly, splitting time with Hagelin. Who knows how that's going to look in that back three, but he's going to have basically the two best center backs of last season in Robinson and in Miazga, and to play up to that level with them. I think that's something that's going to need to happen. He had a great 2023. He has to continue.
Yeah. No, the FC Cincinnati defense is going to look different this year, right? No Junior Mourinho as well. Jason, what do you think?
For me, it's Corey Baird coming in. He's not a like-for-like replacement for Brandon Vasquez in any shape or form. But, I saw him come up through the RSL system when I lived out in Utah. He was very successful for Houston last year. He's much more mobile than Vasquez, and I think he's really going to complement Boop as we go into this season.
Gary, we'd invite you on, but I don't think you talk, buddy.
It's an audio medium, so I don't know.
All right, Geoff.
I'm going to have to sort of cheat a little bit here, and I'm going to say FCC2. I'm going to say, like, Kimi Ordonez, Dado Valenzuela, even Steven Jimenez, all the guys that were injured last year who we really could have used come off the bench and grow into a first-team product. They need to really become the people that we want them to be. We need them to blossom. We need them to sort of show that we don't need a signing that replaces Baji per se. We need to have Kimi Ordonez step up and take his spot. So that's what I'm hoping for this year. I want to see the FCC2 team blossom.
All right, since I'm already talking to you, do you think Pat Noonan changes formations this year? Do you think he does anything a little bit different? Does he roll the dice?
It's tough because really I think right now the three-man back line has really helped them out in the past. I don't know how they're going to do a four-man back line in there, but I think they're going to probably try to stay with what works. And then if there's a need, if there's an injury that really disrupts the flow of the team, then you're going to look and see what they can do with a four-man back line.
Yeah. Jason, I think a perfect FC Cincinnati team is one that can adapt to multiple situations. Like, if you're playing a team that can crush a three-man back line, even if you have Robinson, added, is Pat Noonan going to shift to the four? Does he seem like a tactical guy?
I don't know if he will or not. Had Barrial left,
Yep.
I think then we could really talk about shifting the formation. When you have a guy of his talent coming back, my dad used to always say, "You dance with who brought you." You keep the formation now with Barrial.
Okay, I mean that's fair. You got anything to add?
No, I think he had it there with Barrial staying now. That the thought was Arias leaving, Barrial leaving. There goes your wing backs.
Mm-hmm.
Switching to a more traditional four-man back line made more sense. But you have Barrial here, maybe just for half the season, but you have him here at this point. I think you go ahead and continue with how things have already gone.
Yeah. Last year we saw a weakened West, I think overall that was the thinking, and a very strong Eastern Conference. You got, supposedly last year, Nashville was supposed to be really good. Now this year you got Miami, Columbus is supposed to still be coming in hot. Cincinnati's expected to be good. Philly's always good.
Miami looking great in preseason, by the way.
New York, New England's really adding some stuff here over the offseason. What do you think about the Eastern Conference in 2024, Geoff?
You said New England because they were the team I used to support, but I know. And also having Caleb Porter come on and now helm the team up there is going to bring that extra dynamic when they come into town. I really look at it. Now, I'm going to say I think Chicago might be a team that sneaks up on a lot of people.
Okay.
They've had some big signings over the offseason.
The
Chicago Fire, believe it or not.
I've ruled the Chicago Fire out the last 10 years.
Well, you're making a mistake unless you're right.
I think Montreal's another team out east you have to look at. Their acquisitions, some of the moves they've made. Josef Martinez, it sounds like, is going there.
He is, yeah.
We've seen Montreal do this before where now obviously it was under Wilfred Nancy, different setup, but I think they have the ability to get some pieces there to really work and be a decent team.
Yeah, I think the Eastern Conference is going to be murderer's row again this year. The Western Conference, there's not a lot of teams making huge moves. I think LAFC is probably going to be the class of the West. I think LA Galaxy could have been improved. Another team in the East I think might surprise some people is Toronto. I don't think they're going to be bad for long, especially in the summer window. They've got some cap space. They've got the ability to bring in players. I could see them making a late move here in the season as well.
I would be careful about the West Conference. Colorado has really gained a lot of momentum in the offseason. Yeah. And I think what it's going to look like is the teams that are expected to perform are going to accelerate. The teams that are expected to perform poorly, a Minnesota, for example, they're going to pull back very quickly. You're going to see a lot of separation between the cream and the non-cream, I guess.
Yeah. I kind of want to get a feel for the room. If you could just put your hands up or down, thumbs up or thumbs down. Are you worried about Messi and Inter Miami? Just out of curiosity.
What about a team full of bunch of mid-30 legs and backs? No, I'm good.
I think the real question is, are you worried about MLS and Messi?
A little thumb on the scale action?
Yeah.
So what are you implying there, Jason? Are you implying
Oh,
a little bit of
nothing at all.
a little
I'm
bit of
not-
referee favorism? Is that what
not-
you're implying?
Not implying a single thing.
Why would MLS want to help benefit the guy that has a profit sharing venture with them? That doesn't make sense at all.
I really think though it's going to be good for, in the end, us, because last year it was, he comes in, everyone's applauding, everyone's happy that the best player in the world has embraced MLS. Now we have a reason to boo. He's got credentials. He's got a North American championship, a cup in his hand.
Yeah.
We have reasons to boo, even though he's the best player on the pitch. We now have our target.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting thing. Is fans are always concerned about a possible bias going into it. Well, we may not even have home field or regular MLS referees starting this season, right?
That's right.
We're looking at
Stats.
theoretically starting the season with a referee strike.
Is there going to be like an inflatable rat blown up in front of the stadium?
Anybody got like a license to be a ref in this?
Yeah, we're looking for possible referees to come in and be a little bit favoritism towards us. Right?
Yeah, great. I'm a grade 8. I got you. My grassroots.
No, so I think that's a little bit of the news to keep your eyes on. If you're out there and you only pay attention to FCC and then the news going on, there's the strike that could potentially happen. MLS will probably play still with referees that are not in the union. They'll bring them in until that gets settled, and then of course we'd see our regular familiar referees back out there. And then early season for FCC is, of course, the big news.
Yeah.
We're going to have a couple games before that could go either way. You've seen teams in a preseason, like a tournament that we're in, get a big start, and then you've seen teams not focus on the regular season until they get out of it.
The Champions, now Champions Cup, former Champions League, has had the history of slowing teams out of the gate, where the season starts and they have all these other matches, long travel, international travel you have to deal with, and it can cause a slow start to your season.
Yeah. So what's going to happen to FC Cincinnati, you think? You think the season's a priority, or take your shot in a tournament that's very hard to get in?
I think the season is a priority. MLS Cup, I think, is the priority. I think there's a bad taste in everybody's mouth about the way things ended last year, and that's going to be the be-all, end-all of it. Another trophy would be nice, but I think that one at the end of the year is the biggest one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that we'll have some focus on the CCC, just because for the first 2 games of the season, we're not going to have Matt Miazga in the back row. He's going to be fresh and need to get out there and get his chops up. Yep. So having someone like Miazga playing at least those first 2 games in this tournament is worth it. I mean, you're going to have a home and away there, so you need 2 healthy games with them. And then after that, you're playing with house money. We don't know how far we can go in this tournament because we've never been in this tournament.
Right. Yeah. Right. Uncharted waters. We do have this first round is against the lowest seeded or ranked team in the tournament. So we should be able to advance even with some solid rotation going on.
Yeah. I think the problem for us FC Cincinnati fans is, what do you focus on at this point? Do you focus on the season, the Open Cup, Leagues Cup, CONCACAF? Like what? There's so many things.
So many cups.
We don't even know if FCC is going to focus on the U.S. Open Cup. Period.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, it's still being decided.
Just to get everybody on board with what's going on, the U.S. Open Cup, MLS is trying to get their MLS 2 teams to play instead, but that screws up the entire balance of what counts as a top tier.
Well, the U.S. Federation said no.
Yes.
You can.
So
no.
You're going to see, is the team going to put as much focus on that, whereas something like the CCC, something like the Leagues Cup is meant has more eyeballs on it in terms of the global approach to the game.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting approach for FCC.
Well, because there's all these tournaments and because of the way the season ends last year, I want to know what success means to you. What does FC Cincinnati do in 2024 that you walk away happy with the year? Jason.
MLS Cup.
Only the MLS Cup. That's the thing that matters.
A cup or bust for me. I mean, like I said, another trophy would be nice. We're good enough to win MLS Cup this year. We've already got a supporter shield, which is back there, and you can go get your picture taken with it. MLS Cup. We need to shut the people in Columbus up.
All right. Well, that's pretty clear cut. Do you agree, or are you going to go a different angle?
I think I largely agree, but I would still be very satisfied from a success level if we just get another trophy. Once again, this is a season. You mentioned it. We're in a newer tournament. We all have the summer cup again, the league's cups.
Yeah.
We'll have possibly the Open Cup. We have a lot of chances to win something. We need to win something.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. Get that first trophy, whatever it is, under your belt, and then everything's gravy.
Yeah, I think we are at the point with this roster where we should be expected to walk away with silverware of some sort every season.
Do you really think people are like, "Oh, Miami only won League's Cup"? Like, I mean, I'm not.
Let me amend what I said too, because I think if we were to, knock on wood, win the CONCACAF Champions Cup,
that would be huge.
That would be huge because only one other MLS team has ever done that.
MLS team to do
so bragging rights galore if we were to do that.
Yeah. I really think that the thing I would aim for is to get a bye in next year's CCC.
Yeah.
And that means winning either an MLS Cup or the League's Cup. I think if we can get ourselves something that's substantial in our trophy case that counts as a cup and not a plate or a shield, then I think we get the respect that we've been looking for all this time. But the other caveat is we need to get more than Columbus. If we get the Supporters Shield again and Columbus gets a League's Cup or gets a U.S. Open Cup, they have another thing to brag in front of our faces.
Sure.
So we need to have luck on our side.
Well, I think most people in this room will agree winning the Shield is pretty freaking cool. If you win the Shield again next year and that's all you win, is that a problem? You're saying you want something else.
I would actually be comfortable with another Shield because that would show people that we are consistent year after year after year under the Pat Noonan and Chris Albright regime.
Mm-hmm.
That there is consistency, there is success, there is a model that other teams are going to look at.
Yeah.
True, but you don't. What was it? The Bills when they made like 3 Super Bowls in a row and didn't win it.
Well, they didn't have a Supporters Shield in the NFL.
But consistently, they were one of the better teams in the entire league. I would like another Supporters Shield. Great. I don't want to be consistently good without winning it.
We don't want to be that great team that just falls apart in the playoffs or can't finish the job in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So we don't want that to hang over.
So we're saying we don't want to be the Bengals of MLS.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I wouldn't say the Bills.
We're about to bring Laurel Pfahler up here in a little bit, but I think one of the big stories coming out of this offseason, they recently talked to Pat Noonan, and he seems really, really encouraged by what he's seen already offseason in camp. Does that make you feel good as a fan? Like, is FC Cincinnati going to hit the ground running? We had a really good run in 2023, and so it's going to be hard to duplicate results, in my opinion.
Yeah, some of the benchmarks, how long we went without dropping a win, without losing at home. Stuff like that might be a little harder to duplicate, but I think overall, this is going to be looking at the season on the whole. I expect the same level.
Yeah, the hardest part is that we now have the target on our back.
Yeah, true. We're going to get everybody's best.
We had house money the past few years. Getting to the playoffs, hosting a home playoff game. That was what was on our agenda, and we hit those milestones perfectly. But we also didn't hit the last one that wasn't necessarily in our notebook. Yep. Now it's in our notebook, and all the other teams know they have to go through us to get there.
Yeah.
And so we're going to feel that sort of laser, I think, aimed at us.
Yeah.
It is nice that the team seems to be about 85-90% complete heading into the season. I'm sure we're going to have some transfers over the summer, but we're not having to rebuild like we did in previous.
We're not waiting on a big piece.
Right.
We're just, it's really more depth and who we can kind of surround our core with.
If anything, we can sort of see that next piece from the horizon because Barreal is going to want to go to Europe. And I think
if it's not summer, it'll be next.
It's going to be a lot like the idea with Brenner, where Brenner knew he was going to Europe, and he knew when his opportunity was. And I think the team was able to line that up. They were able to get Bupenza in. And I think you're going to see the team like we know how to replace Barreal because we know when he's going to be departing.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for your input on that segment. I'm going to step aside. We're going to let Geoff Tebbetts handle this thing, take it over. Let's amp this thing up with the one, the only FC Cincinnati reporter Laurel Pfahler.
Oh. So yeah, we're going to turn this over into the jersey swap portion, I guess, of this. But so we'd like to welcome Laurel in. If you don't know Laurel, she is I guess you could say local, right?
She's local. She's
very
literally
she's
from Westchester.
more local than I am, that's for sure.
Liberty Township.
That's right.
But welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Yeah, I see you all the time in the press box, so we converse quite a bit. But we also know that you do a lot of work with the Bengals as well.
Yes.
So this off season, you weren't totally not busy. But what does an off season look like for Laurel Pfahler?
Well, I actually had a little bit of an off season since the Bengals didn't make the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, reporters will tell you that there's really no off season, and I could actually make an argument that it's busier during the off season because it's a lot more news. And I admit that I spent a lot of my off season just trying to keep up with Tom Bogert and all of his breaking news. But yeah, I mean, you're just constantly checking on, the new roster for the next year and how they're building it. We get end of the season interviews that I usually try to, write a lot of features off of those and kind of, when the off seasons are longer, you try to fill your time with some of those features from those interviews and you stretch it out. But this year I had like 2 weeks to fill out content with the end of season stuff, and it was time to move on because it was just so short. So just really trying to keep up with how they're building the new roster.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about building that roster. I mean, you mentioned Tommy Scoops. Day in, day out, he's been pretty busy. In terms of like what FCC has done in the offseason to build up and also move out some of the parts that needed replacement, what were the biggest needs on paper for this team?
Well, it was hard to tell for a while because they were in negotiations with a lot of the guys that, they didn't pick up the options for Santiago Arias. Junior Moreno's contract ran out. They were in negotiations with those guys, and they seemed like guys that they would want to bring back, but that kind of
was that a surprise to you that both ended up not happening?
I was surprised both of them. I thought for sure, I know Junior wanted a raise. He was making, I think, around the 400,000 range. And you look at Don Baggi and Sergio Santos. I know they're a different position, but they were making $650,000 and $800,000 being bench players, and Junior was a regular starter. So I understand him wanting a raise. His position kind of didn't command maybe the raise that he wanted, but I was surprised that didn't get done. Santiago Arias, if you asked me in August or September, I would have said for sure he would be back. His option price was definitely higher than they wanted to pay. He's 32 now. You saw, he started 16 games, and some of that, he was on international duty back with Colombia, but he did have 4 different injuries. I just might be off on that, but he started the season. I mean, he had started too fast, got a little leg injury, so he missed a few games after the opener. And then I think there was another one in the summer, and then 2 right at the end. So I think that they, if he would have come back on maybe the same deal, 600, I think he was around 600,000. Maybe they could have gotten that done, but I also think he wanted maybe longer than they wanted to give him. He got a 2-year contract with Bahia in Brazil. So I guess I was surprised that, they couldn't get one of those. Those are 2 big holes to fill.
The needs, though, that FC Cincinnati had with the newer folks coming in, do you think those have been covered, or do you think there might be a spot or 2 that still needs to be filled?
I mean, they still need to replace Brandon Vasquez. Corey Bayard, I think that he is, I don't want to call him a stopgap, but I think he's an upgrade on Don Baggi, and just that he can provide a little bit more. I like Don Baggi a lot. He just, he started scoring and then got hurt.
Right.
So I think that Corey Bayard, he had a breakout year last year, and if he can kind of build off that, then he can be a guy that definitely, he can start games and kind of get you through to the summer if you can't replace Brandon until then. But they do still want a target forward. Going into the offseason, they actually thought that they might be able to replace him with a young DP or a DP. Everyone at that time thought MLS was going to give them a fourth DP.
That's true. That's true.
So I think that kind of threw a wrinkle in their plans a little bit. They ended up spending, I think, a little bit more on Miles Robinson. That was like the exact guy that they wanted, but you had to pay a little bit more to get him. And so I think they're kind of limited in what they can do right now at that forward spot without having sold Alvaro Barreal.
So that's something that might not be addressed till the summer, probably.
I mean, it's possible. I just think that the budget's kind of tight because I think they also, they thought they were going to sell Barreal. And when they sell Barreal, they're going to get an extra 1.2 roughly million in GAM. And that's going to help them be able to do some of the other moves that they want to make.
Yeah, you had mentioned on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, that was the stumbling block there. That we really needed that chunk of GAM. We needed Barreal to be dealt in this offseason. But, I mean, that's obviously making things harder now.
But they don't have to replace Barreal right now, too. So,
right, that's very true.
They would have been looking at a pretty expensive left wing back. And I do think that, I know you guys mentioned Luca Oriano. I haven't tweeted anything about him. You can pretty much count on him coming. Everything that I've heard is that, it's likely to happen. Wow. It's been well reported in Brazil.
And for those who have not, and I'm definitely not included in that group, tell us a little bit about that player. Like, what do we know about him?
Okay, so Luca Oriano is kind of a carbon copy of Alvaro Barreal. He is a left-footed right winger right now. He's playing on the right side. He plays as an inverted winger. He's 23. Barreal's 23. They both came up through the Velez system. And right now he's in Brazil and not playing as much with Vasco. So he wanted to move on. And this is all from what I've read in Brazil or in reports coming out of Brazil. But there's enough reporters out there saying it's done. The club isn't saying anything official yet. But I would count on him coming. It looks to me like he is being groomed as Barreal's replacement. Which I will admit, I was kind of thrown off when that name came out there at first because I've always been under the impression that when Barreal is gone, they were going to switch to a 4-4-2.
Right.
So I don't know how he fits in a 4-4-2 unless maybe they see him as a diamond, one of the side of the diamond midfield.
You mentioned kind of the comparison of it being Barreal's start to the season might be similar to Brenner's. Do we see that where possibly Barreal isn't really around the team a whole lot here in the beginning?
I know I've gotten that question a lot. I think the big difference between Alvaro and Brenner is that Brenner had a little bit of a history of some issues with the club. It was really rough when he first got here. Right. The club
didn't get him a translator.
I mean, yeah, they were still growing. I'm not, they made mistakes. They corrected them immediately. Like that offseason, they hired somebody that would be not just someone to help Brenner, but to help all the foreign players kind of adjust and get used to, life in the U.S. and MLS and everything. So, it kind of started off rocky. Brenner wanted out pretty early. It got better with him. And, obviously he had a great 2022 season. Trying to think of the years now.
Hard to remember now.
Barreal hasn't had that. I mean, he got here in 2020 and it wasn't a good time, and he didn't really like the switch to left wing back, but I think he sees that it's kind of increased his value, which we didn't see this winter quite, but I think we will in the summer. He just didn't really he hasn't been commanding, I got to go, I'm not going to show up at practice, that kind of thing. So I think it'll be different.
Has he arrived in Florida yet?
He was basically the understanding was we're going to give you until the window closes in Europe. If nothing gets done, then you're expected to report. So he would have had to report late last week, but the team was on a break. Right. They took a long weekend. So the expectation is he'll be there early next week.
How close were they to maybe getting a deal done? Do you know?
So the highest offer I'm aware of was $4 million. And from my understanding, the club wanted more than that. Yeah. And I think that is completely understandable. Barreal might not want to hear that, but when you look at all that they had to replace this offseason, I'm pretty sure that FC Cincinnati, it's the same thing with Brandon Vasquez. Last summer, they got an offer for $7 million from Chivas, and they wanted basically $10 million for Brandon at the time. Everyone's like, you're not going to get $10 million. Well, that's what it would have taken for them to move him. They were chasing a trophy, so they set that price high. It's the same thing with Barrial. They already had to replace Brandon, which they're still working on, and all these other pieces. So I think it makes sense that you set the price high. Maybe you go a little lower in the summer if you have to, because you've had that time to plan for the replacement. But I think that they were well within their right to keep that price high. And if someone matched it, maybe they would have sold him. But
I think they really have to sell him on his quads. You know,
Yeah.
my wife is going
Beautiful
to miss
legs.
those when they run off to Europe.
I'm sure the fans in whatever European team gets him will be thrilled.
The other name that you mentioned, Miles Robinson, coming to the team. A lot of people thought, yeah, it's a pipe dream, but he really has his own eyes on Europe. Can you maybe give a little insight into how he determined FCC to be the next step?
I mean, his big thing is he wants to make sure he is in the next World Cup. So he wants consistent playing time, and he knows he can get that with FC Cincinnati. He saw what they've done with their center back so far. You know, even Yerson Mosquera, you know, he improved his stock and, you know, moved on and is in La Liga now. So
Miazga getting call-ups after how many years of not getting call-ups? I mean,
Yeah.
that was huge.
So I think he kind of sees what FC Cincinnati has to offer. And the risk in going to Europe right now for him is that he's not going to be guaranteed playing time.
Exactly.
I also think that maybe the money wasn't where he wanted it. So in the end, FC Cincinnati just had more to offer. I think Atlanta was able to offer him more money, but I don't think he wanted to play on turf anymore.
No.
And he specifically said that at least a couple times to us in interviews that he really liked the grass at TQL Stadium.
I can't remember. Did he actually play at TQL other than the U.S. team?
Yeah, he did. I have a photo actually.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
So he's already got his taste of what TQL Stadium's experience.
Yes. So he talked about the environment. So yeah, he was there with the U.S. team. That was against Mexico that he
Was it the Mexico?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Or was he in? He wasn't injured. What? I can't remember.
Yeah, it would have because the next one he was injured. He had
that's right.
Achilles.
I do have a question that's not on our rundown, but since you cover the Bengals and FC Cincinnati and MLS, which is harder to wrap your head around? The NFL salary rules or MLS salary rules?
Definitely the MLS. Like you guys see me probably all the time on Twitter complaining about there's no transparency in MLS, and it's so hard. That's the thing I think that MLS really struggles with is the fans just don't understand it enough.
Right.
And if they want to grow, I feel like they need to help the fans understand it more. And you do that by being more transparent. And, you know, people complain about how Inter Miami is building and, you know, they've already gotten in trouble in the past. Well, I don't know how they're fitting in all these pieces. Show us your breakdown of, you know, I'm sure there's a competitive advantage for the GMs that are like, have these secret methods or like, they have their own methods of how they're buying these players down and things. But I just feel like that's where MLS really needs to grow. It's too difficult to understand.
Well, and we saw here at the club what happens when you have a GM that understands those rules and one that's kind of foreign to him too. And you know how roster builds are very different that way.
Maybe Chris Albright is like, no, Laurel, stop talking.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the season then. Let's see if we can sort of get some prognostications coming from someone who's seen the team over the past few years. I mean, what teams do you consider to be the main competition in the East this year?
Well, no one's gonna. I mean, you have to consider Miami, but I am concerned about the age and injuries that might come. So
a lot of old legs
it's hard
and
to tell what they're gonna like. They could be really good, or they could lose everyone to injury and not be. You know, Orlando, I still think Columbus with Wilfred Nancy. I don't even know. I haven't paid as much attention to what they did this offseason. I think he's just a really good coach. So I think you have to be concerned about them. I think the Eastern Conference, like you guys were saying earlier, is just going to be tough again. Trying to think. Orlando City, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just,
I mean, we never really brought up Orlando City because I think this was like breaking news. Duncan McGuire might not be going to Europe now. He's apparently Blackburn dropped the ball on something.
Yeah, he's over
It's not
there
like
and didn't get, apparently the paperwork didn't get through. So shout out to Kenta out there. I didn't even see that today. He was asking me about it. I was like, oh, I didn't see that. But
yeah, so I still think that Orlando is a team that's going to come.
I mean, I think last year they were a team that a lot of people overlooked, and then you saw the season they had.
Yeah, I really think that they would have won the MLS Cup if they didn't have to go through Columbus to do so.
Exactly.
I mean, Atlanta made some decent moves to improve in the summer and then kind of build off that. I think it's hard. Like MLS, and especially in the Eastern Conference, there's so much parity. I feel like it's hard to tell what to expect, except you can probably put Toronto down there at the end.
I'm not convinced that Toronto's going to do well. I think Herdman's a step up, but I think there's just a lot of issues that they've got that they need to repair at the mid.
I think Charlotte continues to progress in the wrong direction.
Charlotte is shedding a lot of their talent to get themselves, I don't know, draft pick or something.
Although I will say, if that uniform leak was right for Charlotte, that is pretty sweet. So
okay, well
they'll have that going.
They'll
for
look
them.
good. They just won't play very well.
Yeah,
Look good, play good. I don't know.
Yeah,
we've seen. I think I've seen a leak of what FCC's looks like. They showed a little snippet of what it is, and frankly, I had to check my coat to make sure they weren't cutting pieces off of it.
The details to it. I mean, I can't wait to see it in person. It just seems like there's going to be some interesting.
Yeah. Everybody's got to circle February 16th. I believe that's when they're going to unveil the brand new kit, if not in advance. But so we'll keep our eyes on that. And also in the future, I mean, we've got a lot of things coming up here. And I guess the question is, how far do you think this FC Cincinnati team can go this year? What is a successful season in 2024?
Well, I went on a live podcast before the Bengals season and said they were going to win the Super Bowl, so I'm not going to do that. That didn't go well. I am a little concerned about the depth right now. Like, you look at the midfield, and I just feel like they're relying on a lot of young depth that we didn't see a lot out of last year. And I just think they're going to need a little bit more something out of that midfield.
And that's kind of what cost us there at the end last year.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think they're done. They still have until April 23rd to bring in more players. I don't know what they can do budget-wise. I mean, they could still use a buyout or make a move out. Do
you expect them to use the buyout this year?
That's a good question.
I don't want to write off anyone, but if there's a candidate, I would say Sergio Santos. And he's not on the CONCACAF Champions Cup roster right now, and you got to wonder about that. I'm not saying he's not going to be here, because they do like him. He is a good clubhouse guy, locker room guy. But he makes a lot for being a guy that's hurt a lot and on the bench. So I think it could be a situation where they're trying to help him find another club, and maybe they don't have to use that buyout. But if they need to open up some room, I think that's probably where you do it.
So you're saying we don't have to buy out Vermeer this year?
Let's do it again, just to double check and make sure.
Make sure he's not coming.
That one ended up not being as bad. I think they only had to pay like $125,000 or something.
Drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
So how far? What's?
No, we don't want her to do that.
No.
Then
Okay, that's right.
You just heard her.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah,
She
I
ruined
guess
the
I never
Bengals
did.
season.
Do you
So
think
I
they'll
will
be
say,
good this year?
I think that they're still gonna. They need to be in the top four. I think if you want to ask me what a successful season is, they still need to be in the top four. They need to host a playoff game.
Right.
You don't want to take big steps back. Sorry. I mean, as long as they're competing for championships, I would like to see them win a tournament. That's something they haven't done yet. That'd be something great. It's going to be hard to repeat a supporter shield.
Right.
But I think that as long as they're, in it for a home playoff game and could still make a run for MLS Cup that way, I would say that's successful.
Yeah.
And I think Chris Albright would say the same. I've asked him, same question, what's successful to you after all this? And his big thing is that, I know he knows the fans want those trophies. Your expectations are, we got to keep this, winning trophies and shields. But his thing is, as long as we're consistently competing and, in it at the end, then we're doing well.
Well, I mean, we want to thank you right here. You know, thanks for joining us here. I mean, I always say this at the end of my podcast. You plug where you are, and you, in terms of where we can contact you, where we can talk with you without being too much of a bother.
Yeah, so I'm on Patreon. I have a subscription-based website through Patreon. It's a content creator platform. So you can find me on Patreon at Queen City Press. So that's the easiest way. And then I'm on X and everything. But
definitely support the local media that supports and covers this club. Not a lot of cities have the good people we have. So definitely support her, guys.
I appreciate it. You guys do great stuff too. So thanks for having me on.
Thank you. We're going to wrap things up real quick here. I made the cardinal sin of going overtime like Boston does.
Oh, no.
So,
I yap a little, sorry.
So let's go into our final thoughts here. Let's run down the line here. Jeremy, what do you have for your final thoughts?
My final thought is, folks, they play a game this month.
Yeah.
They play multiple games this month. We are inside the month of the season. It's here.
Yeah. Okay. That's a nice big opening of the gift that's for this year. Jason?
If you can, join a supporters group. Norden is here. They're awesome. But there's all sorts of great supporters groups around the city. It's a great way to get involved and not be a lonely fan. And I enjoy the community that is soccer. Not a lot of sports do this. You should really participate if you have the opportunity.
Okay. And I just want to wrap up things and say thank you to everybody that's come here, especially to listen to our podcast here. Monday nights at 9 p.m. we run a live show. Jersey Swap usually comes out on Thursdays. I'll talk about a half hour. I'll talk your ear off. We also have Coach Talking Tactics this year, I believe, right? Yeah. And so
we got the approval. It's happening.
Listen to all our podcasts. Get in touch with us. We love talking with you. And thanks everybody for coming out here tonight. BOFUS is on in a little bit. And thank you very much, guys.
See ya.